guys, welcome to another video. Today we'll be reviewing Now You See Me Too. This film came out in 2016 and was directed by John M. Chu and stars Jesse Eisenberg and Woody Harrelson. Now before we start, if you like one, subscribe, post notification bell so you can know for a free video. Let's just start. Let's start talking about they're good. So all the actors and actors in this film, I thought they're all fantastic, especially the inclusion of Daniel Radcliffe, who plays Walter Mabry, Lizzie Kaplan, who plays Lula, and John Cho, who plays Lee. I thought those three characters in this film were very, very good. The opening sequence, I thought it was good. It's basically Lionel Shrike, who is Dylan Rhodes' father. He was a magician, and he was doing a stunt, and he dies. And Thaddeus Bradley was the news reporter, who was, of course, played by Morgan Freeman. He was the news reporter who was, of course, doing the news while his father was dying. Dylan Rhodes, who's played by Mark Ruffalo, his father was dying. And I really thought that it wasn't a great opening sequence for this film, but it was a good opening sequence that gave us a little backstory for Dylan Rhodes. The cinematography, which of course was shots of cameras, the lighting is good. Similar to the first film, I enjoyed the cinematography and the way the first film looked. This film looks very similar. The first act of the film, I thought it was good enough. It sets up the new characters well. I liked some of the new characters in this film. And there's also a reveal of Walter Mabry, who's played by Daniel Radcliffe in the second act of the film, who is of course the son of Michael Caine's character Art in the first film. I thought Daniel Radcliffe was very good in this film. Of course, he's one of my favorite actors, Harry Potter, but he was very, very good as the main villain for this film. The Horseman plan sequence, which is in the second act of the film, I thought it was great. The four horsemen have this plan of how they're going to take down the villain, and with all that magic stunts, very good scene. There's also a security sequence with the card trick. It was awesome. I love that sequence. It's easily one of my favorite sequences out of those two films. It's basically the four horsemen, and they have to get through the security, and they're doing all this magic just so that they can get through, but they're using only a card. And it was awesome because they had to get a card, a sort of magic card, through the security, and the way they do it is awesome. There are also some hilarious sequences, especially the first meeting with Daniel Atlas, who's played by Jesse Eisenberg, and Lula. Lula chops off her hand in this film, and it was obviously a magic trick, but for a second I thought that they were using that in the film, but of course it was magic, and I thought it was a very clever magic trick sequence. There's also a fun fight sequence with Dylan Rhodes, who's played by Mark Ruffalo, versus all of Walter Mabry's men. It's sort of, in the end, Dylan is trapped in a sinking safe. So he goes and he fights all of Walter's men, who's of course played by Daniel Radcliffe, fights all of his men, and in the end, Dylan ends up being trapped inside of the safe, underwater. Very claustrophobic sequence, and a fantastic sequence for sort of this action heist film. There's also a reveal of Art, who's played by Michael Caine, as the father of Walter Mabry, played by Daniel Radcliffe. We didn't know Art's relationship to any characters until this point in the third act of the film, and I thought it was a great reveal. The third act of the film I thought was very entertaining. There are some great reveals, and it ends with the arrests of Walter Mabry and Art, and I thought it concluded that well because, of course, they're the villains, so they have to be defeated. But the way they're defeated, I thought it was very well done. And the score by Brian Tyler, I thought it was a great score. It's similar to the first film, but the first film, I thought the theme for the Four Horsemen, once again, fantastic. The ending sequence, I thought it was good. It's basically Dylan Rhodes and Thaddeus Bradley, played by Morgan Freeman, having a conversation, and Thaddeus was revealed to be friends with Dylan's father. So technically, Thaddeus Bradley wasn't really a main antagonist throughout this entire series. So I really enjoyed that interaction between him and Mark Ruffalo's character. That's all the good that I have. Now let's move on to the bad. So there are some over-the-top and ridiculous sequences, and some of them, even though this is a magic film, there are some sequences that are a little bit too over-the-top. For example, Merritt McKinney, who's played by Woody Harrelson, he has a twin brother in this film. I don't know why they had to do that. I did not really care, and it didn't really make any sense for the story why they needed to include it. If they would have taken it out, it would have been the same exact thing. The second half of the film is very repetitive, and it does drag during multiple sequences, and it's also, once again, very ridiculous. Walter Mabry wants the Horsemen to get a computer chip that can access any computer in the world. Now, I understand that this is a magic film, so you have to suspend your belief just a little bit, but this doesn't really make a lot of sense how one chip could be used for any device and computer in the world. It does go a little bit over top in that aspect. And there's also weird transition sequences with Walter Mabry. His character is very entertaining, but the transition sequences with Daniel Radcliffe's character in this film, I did not think that they were all that necessary. That's about it. Now You See Me 2 is a decent sequel. It's not as good as Now You See Me, but it is entertaining enough. So I'll give Now You See Me 2 a B-. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, the post notification bell so you know for a free video. I'm Peter. Thank you for watching.